I want you to imagine for just a second taking off your shoes and stepping barefoot onto a floor that is it's completely flooded with wet, bright pink paint.
Yeah, which is an intense mental image right off the bat.
Right. And you are inside this decaying modernist hotel from the 1950s. The neon sign outside is flickering. The facade is literally crumbling. But inside, this pool of wet paint is, it's forcing you to leave footprints.
It forces you to be physically present.
Exactly. It makes you feel physically vulnerable in a building that was originally designed to feel super rigid and imposing. It's just this completely wild mental image.
It really is. And,
Yeah.
It perfectly captures the essence of what we are unpacking today. Because when most people think about travel, they kind of default to these highly curated, predictable buckets.
Oh, totally. The safe options.
Right. You have your European city breaks, the heavily scheduled adventure tours, the cookie-cutter tropical resorts. But we are diving into a place today that completely shatters all those expectations. We are exploring the cultural landscape of Angola.
And diving into this material, it honestly feels exactly like flipping a massively famous record over to the B-side.
Oh, I love that analogy.
Yeah, and you flip it over, only to realize that the B-side is the actual masterpiece that everyone has just been missing out on. So our mission today is to give you a shortcut to understanding the real Angola.
Which is so important because there are so many outdated stereotypes out there.
Exactly. We're pushing past all of that to uncover a place of just profound cultural energy. This is a culture that is defining itself entirely on its own terms. It's balancing deeply rooted ancient traditions with this electric, incredibly modern pulse.
And to really understand that modern pulse, you have to start with the literal heartbeat of the country, which is found in the evenings in Luanda, the capital city.
Yes, Luanda after dark.
Right, because in Luanda, socializing isn't just something you do to, kill time on a weekend. It is treated as an absolute art form. It's this highly structured, multi-generational cultural practice.
Let's actually ground this geographically for a second, because the layout of the city dictates so much of this social scene. You have this incredible feature called the Ilha de Luanda.
The island?
Yeah, which is basically an 8-kilometer sand spit that arcs right across the bay, and it acts as the city's social main street.
It's stunning.
It really is. Just imagine this long ribbon of palm trees, beach restaurants, lounges, private clubs, running all the way down to a lighthouse at the point. And you walk through a wooden gate into a beach club like Lekol or Ushuaia on a Friday afternoon.
And it's just packed with everyone.
Exactly. You see couples in their 50s, groups in their 30s, families with young kids, all lounging by the pool.
And this is where a really fascinating geographic quirk comes into play, because the Luanda city skyline faces west, directly across the water.
Right.
Because of that, almost every rooftop, every west-facing terrace, and every spot on that sand spit is perfectly positioned for the sunset.
It's like stadium seating for the sun.
Totally. You have places like the Hotel Bahia rooftop lounge looking straight across the bay, or D-Cigar's Sky Lounge down in Talatona, offering these just sweeping panoramic views of the horizon.
But okay, here is the thing that really blew my mind about those sunsets. Coming from a place where a summer sunset can take, a lazy 2 hours to finally fade to black.
Oh yeah, the long twilight?
Yeah, but the sunset in Luanda is incredibly fast. Because of where it sits geographically near the equator, the sun just drops like a stone.
It really does.
We're talking 17.45 to 18.45, just 60 minutes. The local guides literally advise you to be in your seat by 17.15 with a frosted drink already on your table, or you are going to miss the entire thing.
You'll literally blink and miss it. It's that rapid equatorial drop. And what's fascinating is how that 60-minute window acts as a physiological trigger for the entire city.
Like a starting gun.
Exactly. The sky goes from bright tropical blue to pitch black, like someone just flipped a switch. And that rapid shift completely changes the mood. It signals the opening act of the night.
Okay, I have to push back a little bit here, though.
Sure.
Because when I hear, beach clubs and sunset triggers and these strict, smart casual dress codes.
Right, the dress codes.
Yeah, which apparently mean no flip-flops after dark and guys are bringing out the light blazers. When I hear that, my brain immediately goes to, a pretentious, exclusive VIP bottle service scene. How is this a deep cultural practice and not just, wealthy people partying?
That is a really important distinction to make, and I'm glad you brought it up. It's super easy to map Western club culture onto this scene, but that would be a huge mistake.
Okay, how so?
Well, the exclusivity you might associate with the dress code in, say, London or New York, it functions very differently here. In Luanda, dressing well is a profound sign of respect for the community and for the music itself.
Oh, interesting. So it's about honoring the space.
Exactly. The energy slowly builds from this chilled-out bossa nova afternoon vibe into something deeply rooted in Angolan heritage.
Sure.
Right around 22.0 or 22.3, the background music fades out, the live bands or the DJs take over, and the space completely transforms.
It turns into a dance party.
But a massive, inclusive celebration of local rhythm.
And those rhythms, they're not just your generic top 40 club hits. Luanda is the birthplace of Kizomba and Semba music.
Yes.
Let's actually unpack what that sounds and feels like for a second. Because Semba has these beautiful acoustic roots. It's an elegant, circular, partnered dance.
It's very smooth.
Very smooth. And then you have Kuzukuta, which has this upbeat, syncopated, almost festive marching quality to it. And over time, those traditional rhythms evolved, right?
Right, they didn't just stay in the past.
No, the beats got faster, they introduced electronic drums, and that morphed into modern styles like Kuduro, which is just incredibly energetic and fast-paced.
Exactly. So when those dance floors open up and run until 3 or 4 in the morning, you aren't just at a standard nightclub. You are experiencing the living continuation of Angolan history.
Wow.
And it is highly democratized. You'll see grandparents dancing the exact same foundational steps as the 20-somethings, just at a different tempo.
I love that.
And if you don't know the steps, locals will happily give you a quick lesson right there on the dance floor.
And this energy scales up to a massive degree, too. During the Carnival of Luanda in February, hundreds of thousands of people take over the coastal avenue.
It's huge.
They watch over 40 groups parade for 6 hours a night, performing those exact same Semba and Kazakuta rhythms. Or think about the Masulo beach party for New Year's.
Oh, that sounds incredible.
Thousands of people dress in all white and literally take boats out to the island to dance until sunrise.
When you look at how these traditional rhythms are preserved and how they continuously evolve into modern global dance movements on these exact same beaches, you are watching a culture actively renewing itself.
Yeah.
They aren't treating their history as some dusty museum exhibit. They are literally dancing it into the future.
Which brings up a really interesting question. Where else is this creative energy showing up? Because the exact same drive that fuels those dance floors is currently sparking a massive contemporary art renaissance across the city.
It is, yeah.
But the physical spaces they are using for this art are incredibly surprising.
Well, the art scene in Luanda is wildly dynamic, specifically because it is entirely artist-led.
Right, it's organic.
Very organic. There isn't this massive network of state-funded modern art museums handing out endless grants. The artists, the curators, the gallerists, they are carving out these spaces through just sheer willpower and intuition.
And the spaces they are claiming are so loaded with history. Let's go back to that opening image we talked about, the Hotel Globo.
Yes.
Built in 1950, it was once the grandest hotel in Luanda. I mean, it represented the absolute peak of colonial modernist architecture.
Very structured, very imposing.
Exactly. But today, the exterior is literally decaying. It looks like a ruined relic, but it has this bright red neon sign on the facade, and inside it is vibrating with life.
It's a total hub.
Right, it's this organic arts community. You have Yamek Contemporary Art, which is one of the country's foremost galleries, operating right out of the building, founded by gallerist Mihawk Vieira, who just went on pure intuition to launch Angolan artists globally.
And you also have the fucking Global Project in there too.
Yes.
Which is just a brilliant platform bringing together filmmakers, producers, curators, and performers for this completely unfiltered intellectual discourse.
It's amazing.
Artists like Sandra Polton, who by the way is shown at the Venice Biennale, she describes this building as a truly safe space. In a city where many buildings have armed guards at the door, the Hotel Globo is an open threshold where artists live, work, and collaborate freely.
I love this concept so much. Let's dig into the actual mechanism of it, because the contrast is just staggering to me. You have this decaying, highly rigid 1950s colonial-era building being used as the cradle for boundary-pushing, free-thinking art.
Right.
To me, it feels kind of like a hermit crab finding an abandoned shell.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
Right, because a hermit crab doesn't build the shell, it just inherits it. but a rigid shell forces the crab to move in a very specific, limited way.
It restricts them.
Exactly. These artists inherited this rigid colonial architecture that literally dictated how people should move, who was allowed in, what language they had to speak.
The whole system.
Yeah, and instead of letting it limit them, they are blowing it up from the inside with neon lights and open doors.
That analogy of the shell is perfect because it really gets to the core of why they're doing this. For many of these artists, operating the space like Hotel Globo is actively a decolonial practice.
Tell me more about that.
Well, Angola was a Portuguese colony for 400 years, from 1575 until 1975. You don't just erase 4 centuries of psychological, linguistic, and cultural architecture overnight.
Right. Let's bring this down to earth for a second, though. If I'm a 20-year-old artist in Luanda today, what does decolonial practice actually mean for my daily life? Like, what does that look like on a random Tuesday afternoon?
It means actively questioning the default settings of your reality. So multidisciplinary artists like Wisilela Moreira, who actually has a studio in Hotel Globo, they explain that colonization forcibly distanced Angolans from their indigenous languages and their traditional knowledge systems.
Because the education systems were imported.
Exactly. The schools were literally designed to systemize society to, quote-unquote, think Portuguese. So for young artists today, decolonial practice means unlearning that mandate.
Wow.
It means exploring indigenous healing methods and integrating that traditional knowledge into modern visual art. It is the mental and spiritual separation of true Angolan identity from those lingering colonial structures.
Which brings us right back to Carlos Bunga and the wet pink paint we talked about earlier.
Yes, inhabiting color.
Right, his installation. He fills the floor of a room with wet paint and invites visitors to walk barefoot through it. And at first, you just think, oh, that's a cool interactive exhibit.
Just a fun sensory thing?
Yeah, but when you look at the why and the how, it's so profound. The wet paint is visceral. It demands your attention. It completely messes up the pristine, orderly concept of the colonial floor plan.
Exactly. It's a tactile exploration of transience. By forcing the spectator to leave footprints and experience the space in a really vulnerable, impermanent way, Bunga is challenging the permanence of the architectural and social structures around them.
He's making you hyper-aware of the space.
And it physically represents the state of dwelling between worlds, between the rigid, imposing colonial past of the building and the fluid, colorful, self-determined future that these artists are actively creating right now.
But this naturally leads to a huge intellectual bridge we need to cross.
Okay, what's that?
If these artists are actively stripping away colonial influence to reconnect with their indigenous identity, where are they drawing that inspiration from? They aren't just making it up out of thin air.
Oh, absolutely not.
To find that bedrock, we have to leave the buzzing modern city of Luanda and travel back to the literal ancient roots of the country.
We have to look at the ancient kingdom of Congo. This is really where the historical depth of Angola truly reveals itself.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Up in the Zaire province in northern Angola, you'll find Mbanza Congo. And from the 14th century all the way through the 19th century, this was the political and spiritual capital of the Kingdom of Congo.
And the sheer scale and complexity of this kingdom is staggering. We aren't just talking about a small localized tribe here.
Not at all.
This kingdom spanned across modern-day Angola, the Democratic Republic of Congo, the Republic of Congo, and Gabon. It was an absolute powerhouse. In 2017, Mbanza Congo was inscribed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Which is a huge deal.
Huge! And you can still see the vestiges of the ancient capital, the royal residences, and the ruins of one of the oldest cathedrals in sub-Saharan Africa.
What is critical to understand here is how they operated. This wasn't just a large landmass on a map. It was a highly organized society with a centralized political authority, complex administrative systems, royal courts, and deep spiritual traditions.
They had it all figured out.
Yeah, they were engaging in international diplomacy with European nations back in the 1400s.
That is the ultimate aha moment for me. Because in school, we are so heavily conditioned to revere ancient Rome or Athens, right?
Go for it.
We memorize their governance structures, and we marvel at their continuous power. But somehow, a centralized, highly organized African civilization operating continuously for 500 years gets completely left out of the standard curriculum.
It's a huge blind spot.
It's massive. Colonial narratives often frame the continent as waiting to be, quote-unquote, discovered or civilized.
Yeah.
And the Kingdom of Congo just completely obliterates that narrative.
It demands a total shift in perspective. When you understand the magnitude of Mbanza Congo, The modern art scene suddenly makes perfect sense.
It connects everything.
It really does. The cultural richness in Luanda didn't just materialize out of nowhere as a reaction to the last 50 years. It rests on a massive, deep bedrock of organized civilization. That is the well of indigenous identity the artists at Hotel Globo are drawing from.